Well, good morning, everybody. Apparently, I'm in the habit now. 7 days of. My shirts are always so freaking crooked. Sorry about that. And wrinkly because I'm just a wrinkly person. Trying to figure out because everything is backwards. So, anyways, whatever. I should adjust this before I turn the camera on. I don't know why I don't. I even have a note here saying do that, and I don't. Okay, so good morning. Welcome to Star and Flurry, or welcome back if you've been visiting before. For those of you who know, I did a 7 day full on tarot, or tarot for a week thing. And I failed because on the seventh day I just couldn't bring myself to record, so I ended up doing it on day 8, but I named it day 7 anyways. So this morning I was like, okay, now I'm going to do a read without the camera, which is kind of fun. And then when I did it, it was like, this is totally cool. I had kind of this weird epiphany, which, so I'll tell you, first of all, I have to tell you that I did edge my green bee tarot in green, and I love it. So I've got one in green, one in brown, and one in regular, and I'm so excited. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, so I did this reading, and completely over my head. I had no idea what it was trying to say. None. And it's interesting because I was listening to Marlena Teresa this morning, and she had talked about her messages from the Light Oracle, which I hadn't pulled out in a super long time. And so I pulled it out to see, taking that as a sign. And so I pulled it out, and the three cards. I should pull these down. So the three cards I pulled were Grace. Isn't that a pretty card? Oh my God. Gorgeous. Grace. Passion. And I haven't studied this deck a lot, but I do love it. And Nourishment. So, and then the cards I pulled under it, because as you guys know, I usually start with an oracle and then follow up with my tarot reading. Under the Grace card was the Seven of Wands, which I was kind of like, what? And then under Passion was the Ten of Swords. And then under the Nourishment was the Five of Swords. And I was like, I don't get that. So I pulled out a new guidebook I got with a tarot deck called the Tarot Apocalypse. Is that right? Apocalypsis? Tarot Apocalypsis. And because I find when I read different guidebooks, I get different interpretations of the cards, which is good for me because I tend to get locked into things. Either that or in my own head what I think it should be, and which is totally off the wall wrong. Well, I don't think they're all wrong, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, so I started reading. And first of all, I'm all over the place. Let me tell you about the Epiphany. So I'm reading this. I'm reading about the Seven of Wands, and it's under Grace. And it reminded me that I'm so much happier right now than I was for the last year. And I don't know. I was kind of like, what changes have I made that have eased my mind? Is the best way to put it. And I think one is removing myself a little bit from politics. I think I mentioned this in an earlier. I am not the quietest person in the room when it comes to political discourse, and I have strong feelings, and kind of cult-like behavior on either side bothers me, and so there's that. So I looked at the Seven of Wands as being a bit combative, kind of a freedom fighter combative thing. I thought, okay, that's kind of occasionally me. But what's it doing under Grace? I didn't. So I was kind of just thinking about that, and I thought, one of the changes I've made, dramatic changes I made, I used to be quite a Twitter person. I really enjoyed the discourse on Twitter. I got into a few verbals well, written little Twitters that I should never have done, and I understand that. Um, you get so riled up. It's like, oh, you little monster, you little pisser, especially young, frickin' just little piss ants. Whatever. I won't go into that discussion, but nonetheless, I finally backed out of it, and I was like, what brought you into that? Why did you do that? That was just stupid. These are strangers on the internet, and you're getting super personal. It's just not. Don't do that. So, anyways, I used to enjoy it, and I followed some great people, and I really enjoyed it. And then it just kind of started to get really gross, and I and did I pull out? No, I fell right into the frickin' Twitter rabbit hole. Now I'll say the positives of Twitter is Twitter taught me how to be brief. When I wanted to make a comment that normally would have taken me probably a half an hour to verbalize or several paragraphs to state, forced me to do it in how many 144 characters or less, whatever it is, and yay, that was great because it really taught me to use my words succinctly, and I appreciated that. And I notice it almost every day when I write anything now, that I'm much more apt to be concise and accurate in the words I choose, which I really appreciate. But it just got nasty, and but it was such a habit of mine that it was really really hard to pull away. Plus, I kind of would get my news from it, at least my news feeds, something would come up and I go, what's that about? And then, do my own. I never believed Twitter unless a specific link was posted, like to the Washington Post or the New York Times or whatever, some legit NPR or whatever, some legit news organization. And and I do this because, well, I love those newspapers. They do have their biases, and so you just have to. That's just the news these days. I remember that I grew up in the days when that wasn't the case, and it made news really boring. so their ratings were for shit. But I think it was mandated that they had to have news, and they had to be fair, and you know, show both sides or whatever, and never say anything that isn't. There were no pundits. There were no opinions. In the news, it was just the facts, just the facts, ma'am. Joe Friday, or whatever his name was, on Dragnet. For those of you who remember that guy, anyways, yeah. So, God, I'm all over the place on this one, but anyways, so Twitter, yeah, and so I finally just kind of started to pull away from it. I mean, other Twitter-like things popped up, Spoutable, Post. Oh, what are the other ones? I can't remember. I joined them all, but I didn't find any of them as fascinating. And I think it was because they just weren't as combative. They weren't as promptly newsworthy as Twitter used to be. I mean, Twitter was kind of like the headlines coming at you if you needed to. I was amazed because I had a friend who's like all over the news all the time, but he was not a Twitter person. And I would text him frequently saying, "Oh my God, did you know that blah blah blah?" And he's like, "Where are you getting this?" And and then he'd do his research and find out that that just broke. Why is she so on top of it? Well, I was on top of it because of Twitter. But it's gone through so many changes now, and my entire feed, when it says for you, no, it's not for me. It's for I don't know who, but not for me. So anyway, so I pulled back dramatically from it, and it's made so when I saw this. When I saw these two cards together, Grace and the Seven of Wands, I thought, has some of the change been that you've pulled away from this kind of punch at him attitude and taken on a more graceful approach to life? And that got me down kind of that epiphany rabbit hole of, has my life really changed because I backed off Twitter? And it has. Now, I'll admit, I haven't completely backed off. I still get an awful lot of news, what's the word I'm looking for? News pointers. Go here to check out this, or this is breaking or whatever. But I wondered if that was the case. And then under passion, which is what I certainly was on Twitter at times, passion, was I was reading this as, okay, well, maybe it's time to let this go. This on Twitter, get out of that weird kind of rotation you've been in that. And then under nourishment came the Five of Swords, and I thought, and it made me think, do I get nourishment from sparring, or am I not feeding myself by doing this kind of sparring, kind of stupid, juvenile? I mean, really, I turned into an angry teenager on Twitter. Say, I turned into a 10-year-old when I go to my parents' house. I used to, when they were still alive. And when I get on Twitter, I turn into an angry 16-year-old. It's amazing what certain things can pull out of you and what you see in yourself. And anyway, so that made me think about that. And so I thought, you know what, I need some clarifiers here. So upon grace, I pulled... here's the thing I'll tell you. Sometimes when I do a reading and it's so kind of drawn blank that I'm not picking up on anything, I will cut the deck in half and kind of start over. And so that's what I did. And under grace, I pulled the High Priestess. And under passion came the Queen of Swords. I always think of the Queen of Swords as the forked tongue lady. So under passions, that just cracked me up. And then under nourishment, the Seven of Cups, which to me is always so many choices, good or bad. Is it good or bad? Yeah. I've kind of wandered off on this subject before. And I thought this all, when I kind of tried to pull this all together, I thought, it really is speaking to my Twitter addiction and finally getting out of it, and how amazingly more happy and calm I am, which just blows me away. So yay for that. I'm so excited. So excited. So that's a good thing. So I wanted to thank Marlena Teresa for guiding me to the messages of the light, which I've already had but haven't worked with much. It kind of brought things down into a perspective and an understanding of why I'm happier than I was 8 months ago. It's not that I'm always pretty happy. You guys probably know that, but I'm not as, what's the word I'm looking at? I don't even know what it is. Bitter, tense. I don't know what it is, but I feel so much lighter now, and I think this is all because of Twitter. I think because I walked away from it. I was reading this guidebook with the apocalypses is kind of amazing. First of all, it's a freaking book. It's huge. And then it has just a lot of words, which I'm never afraid of. First it describes it describes the particular card in detail, and then goes on to the mystery of the card, whatever that may be. And then eventually it shows the revelation, which is the kind of the meaning of the card. And so I looked up Five of Swords because I was curious about its, if I can find it again, I was curious about its undernourishment. And the revelation under it is intellectual contest, insults, threats, verbal attacks, meanness done to others as performance or entertainment, gaining advantage over an opponent, putting somebody at a disadvantage, destructive words. Hello, Queen of Swords. Destructive words, boasting, issuing a challenge, egos, fighting, bravado, one-upmanship, feelings of self-importance. Right there. From now on, when I think of the Five of Swords, I will think of Twitter. My unhealthy relationship with Twitter, because that's exactly What I just read you is exactly all the feelings that came out. And I think that it was not nourishing in any ways. And I think the Seven of Cups was just reflecting on the fact that you had so many choices in that app to do all these horrible things, and you chose every single one of them. Stop it. So I don't think it's telling me anything. It's not telling me the future. It's not telling me what I need to be mindful of. What it's telling me is what's happening right now in this world here, which is so much better off than it was. And I'm so thankful for that. And I think it's also telling me that it's okay to have passions, but it's okay to have passions. Let's look at the Queen of Swords. I actually bookmarked her because I thought it was interesting. Oh no, I did not. Why did I bookmark that? I don't even have a pentacle in this reading. Queen of Swords. Where are you? Swords. Wands. Cups. Swords. So Queen of Swords. Wise woman who teaches and speaks the truth. So in here, a teacher, advocate, lawyer, barrister, guide, debate, philosopher, somebody who encourages knowledge in others, nurtures thought and insight, the powers of perception. Hello, the priestess, high priestess, the ability to see the truth through ignorance and deceit, the growth of knowledge, sharing insight with others, group study, emotional detachment, objectivity, understanding of connections, method of inquiry. And again, that to me speaks to all the kind of interesting what is the positive, or used to be the positive side of Twitter, but all of that's gone. And I don't know I honestly don't know whether it's just my perceptions of Twitter, or because when Elon Musk took over, I noticed nothing. I really noticed nothing. I was like, this hasn't changed. What the hell is everybody talking about? Everybody's bitching and nothing's changed. But over time, I began to realize that, oh gosh, yes, in fact, it has changed a lot. And it just makes me angry when I open it up now, which is just not a good thing. Don't do that. Don't do that. Why do you do that? I mean, every once in a while I'm in the mood for a good punch out, but I will type responses, work on them for a while, really good responses, and then I erase them. Because all I needed to do was just get it out of my system. I didn't need to post it. So anyways, if any of you are Twitter people and have noticed it, let me know. And let me know your relationship with them, because I'm really curious. I don't have, well, my brother used to be on Twitter, but he pulled out way early on. After Musk took over, it was just a principle thing for him. He has principles, apparently I do not. And none of my neighbors are, so I can't really talk about Twitter. They all kind of go, Twitter, what? We don't understand the interest in it. And so it's hard for me to dissect my fascination with it early on, because I don't have anybody to really bounce it off of. So anyways, let me know if you're interested in having not that discussion, but interested in making a comment about it. I really appreciate what you have to say. Alrighty, that's it from here. Star and Flurry out for the day. Thanks so much for being here. Always a pleasure. Talk to you later, maybe tomorrow. Bye.